Hello, dreamers of all ages, and welcome to Catch Us at the Castle.
Hey guys, I'm Ed Pizza.
And I'm Steph Sweets, and today on Catch Us at the Castle, we are talking about everything that you can expect in 2026 at both Disneyland and Disney World. But before that, we have a little housekeeping, and you can find me at Steph Parkside on Instagram, and you can find Ed at, where can we find you, Ed?
At Pizza in Motion on all those social media places.
Amazing. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, please take a moment, like and subscribe, share this with friends. That really helps us. And we want other people to be able to enjoy everything that we're sharing. We also want to hear from you what you love and what you would want to hear more of from us. So now we can jump into our topic. Let's start with Disneyland, Ed. The first thing that we need to talk about in 2026 is that the 70th celebration will pick back up again after the holidays and run through August 9th, 2025. So Wondrous Journeys will return, the parades will return, all of those festivities, the same special, I can't think of the name of the show. Over in
is it Wondrous
California
Journeys?
Adventure. No, California Wondrous Journeys will be there for the fireworks show in Magic Kingdom, and then the other one in California Adventure will stay. It's still there. It'll stay through August 2026. I don't know why I'm having a hard time today with names, but apparently I am.
Paint the Night? Because I still haven't seen Paint the Night.
No, that's the parade. You haven't seen Paint the Night yet, Ed? Oh, I'm so sorry. It's one of the best parades in all of the parks.
I know. And I got to get out there to see it, but I'm going to miss it for our January trip. So I'm hopeful maybe later in the year.
Yeah, you need to see it. So, okay, some other exciting things that are happening. Disneyland After Dark events. So these are privated, ticketed events that take place in Disneyland. They do these far more than they do in Disney World. I know that Disney World has tried it in the past and it hasn't been successful, which is really interesting to me. Do you have any thoughts on why that is, Ed?
I'm not sure. We did the Hollywood Studios version of Disneyland After Dark, and I think we did a Magic Kingdom one as well. I'm not sure why they weren't successful. I mean, we were able to ride quite a number of rides, and as you well know, the Florida heat tends to be pretty brutal, so evenings are a lot more reasonable. So I'm not sure why the events haven't caught on.
Yeah, so they do have like the after hours, you can buy a ticket and ride rides, but it's not themed at Disney World like it is at Disneyland. At Disneyland, It's always highly themed and super fun. The last time I think they did themed events like that was, I remember going to the Pirates and Princess Party back in 2007. So I don't know if they've done themed things like that since at Disney World. But coming up, Disneyland After Dark 2026, we have the Sweetheart Nights, which will run in February. And then we have a new one, 70 Years of Favorites, coming up for the 70th anniversary. That will be at the beginning of March, just 2 nights, March 3rd and 5th. Then we have the Disneyland After Dark Disney Channel night, which will pay tribute to iconic childhood shows and characters. Lots of excitement for this one online. I know it's more like that 80s, 90s Disney Channel vibe. And that's running April 12th, 14th, and 16th. And then we have the Star Wars nights, which start, and that will be April 28th, 30th, May 4th, and 6th. And then my favorite one is the Pride Night celebration, which will be June 16th and June 18th. In Disneyland. Tickets go on sale or throughout the year, but they don't start all at once. So go ahead, Ed. What's your question?
So when I looked at these, I was a little taken aback by the price. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the cost of these events. So like, for example, I looked up, I didn't see prices for the further ones that were further out in the year, but for the 70th anniversary, $159. And that includes a little bit of early park access, but not a full day park access.
Correct. You do not, you get in, usually these have started later. So it used to be that you get in at 3. The parties would go till 1. They've shortened all of that. And so the parties start at 9. I think you get in at 6 with your ticket. Yeah, they're doing like everybody is doing, where that shrinkflation, they're shrinking the amount of time you get in the parks. the price is staying the same or going up. So yeah, they're expensive. I do know people that go to multiple events during the year. For myself, I will only do one event. I'll be doing the Pride event again, but I kind of choke when I buy those tickets a little bit because it's expensive. It is not cheap. 160 per ticket. And like you said, you do get all of your photos included. They do a lot of really fun things. They have, for Pride Night, they do a character cavalcade and they have a lot of photo opportunities and a special fireworks show. That's probably the highlight of the night, is the special fireworks show for us. And then lots of character meets. So for us, the highlights for my daughter that she always wants to do are the photo ops, the fireworks, and then they have dance parties around. She did do one of those last year. So it's a lot to swallow. They always have special treats that you can buy, but it's not like at Christmas time when you can walk around at Disney World and get the free cookies and all of that stuff. No, they're not doing that. So yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow for sure.
Well, especially because they took away the extra 3 hours. Because to your point, whether it was 2 or 3, you used to be able to get in that like 3-4 o'clock area for events like this. And so, not that made it, all of a sudden worth it, but you started to be able to say, all right, well, we can go to the park in the afternoon, and then we've got all the evening hours, and it's, we're starting our day later, so maybe somebody like me from the East Coast might struggle a little bit to make it to 1 a.m. But if you got into the park at, say, 4 o'clock, and the party went till 1 o'clock in the morning, it's 7 hours. That's a fairly full park day.
Yeah, they don't go that late though anymore. Now they're only going until like 11, maybe 12.
Looks like 70th is 1 a.m. I didn't check the hours.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah.
70th is 1 a.m. Sweetheart Night is 1 a.m. as well. But again,
okay,
starts
good.
at 9
Then they
p.m.
must
So you
be,
get 6 p.m. You get 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. So it's,
7 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. And I couldn't do math, so 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. would be 9 hours, not 7 hours. So good job, Ed, on math.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, that's, to be clear, like you and I love stuff like this, and I do love themed events in the parks. For a family of 4 to buckle up for, $500 plus just to hit the gate, that's a tough one.
Yeah, for sure. It's even tough for me to swallow it, for me and my daughter. When it's just me doing these things with our group of friends, it's a lot easier to digest the price. But when it is, and if I was bringing my whole entire family, but that's why I've never brought my whole entire family, is it's just cost prohibitive to do that. So my youngest and I will continue to enjoy it and have a good time. And if anyone else wants to buy their ticket, they're welcome to come. So that's how it works in my house. So, all right. After dark events, we do have a lot of, before we go into construction, let's talk about Bluey coming. There will be a stage show coming to Disneyland. Yes. So much excitement around this. This will be in the Fantasyland Theater starting in March, like towards the end of March, I believe is when it was.
Mm-hmm.
You're excited for that one, Ed?
So I'm excited for 2 reasons. One, our audience has absolutely no idea. First off, Bluey, I think, has just started to catch on a little bit, and so there's a little bit of buzz behind them, especially with partnerships they did with some of the travel stuff. But for folks who have tuned into the show from our beginning days, they haven't seen the outtake footage, whether or not it ever makes it to public. But that was where we actually tried to film our first episode.
That is, yes, coming full circle, 100%.
Yeah.
So there hasn't been anything in that theater for a very long time. Yes. So that's why you were excited when I said Fantasyland Theater.
We took advantage of the open space at that theater and just camped out there for about an hour while the rest of our friends hung around the park, and we recorded a bunch of intros that were of varying quality.
Yes. And what's really funny is my next trip there, like the following week or 2 after that, they had it all fenced off. And so I was like, oh, maybe they didn't like us recording in there. I don't know.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, yeah. And then we have Soarin' Across America coming to both Disneyland and Disney World July 2nd. And then we have a whole bunch of construction that's starting in 2026. So let's dig into that a little bit. I know that Monsters Inc. closes in January. That's the area. Hollywoodland is the area where Avatar Land will be. None of these things I don't think will be opening in 2026. However, it will change your planning for your vacation because things are going to be closed. There's a lot of stuff that's closing in January. Some of it for normal maintenance, some of it permanently, like Monsters Inc. And then we have construction starting for Coco, which will be down on Pixar Pier right before you get to the Paradise Garden Grill in that area. That's where the parades come out. So I don't know if they're thinking they're not going to have parades anymore or if they're just going to be shifting things around enough. But a Coco dark ride will be back there. We also know that in Avatar Land, there will be an Avatar dark ride. It's a boat ride. It sounds more exciting, though, than the boat ride that's in Florida because it talks about how it's a thrill ride almost is what it sounds like from the description. And so it makes me think that maybe it's going to be maybe more like Pirates where there's some drops and things like that, which will be really exciting.
Well, and let's be honest. I mean, nothing against Navi River in general, but it is at least for me, it's a one and done sort of underwhelming, get you out of the sun if there's too long of a line elsewhere sort of ride. It's not one that needs to be done multiple times.
Yeah, the last couple of times while my kiddo has been on a flight of passage, I've gone on Navi River journey while I'm waiting because I've been getting sick. But hopefully things will be changing for me and I will be able to ride some of those rides again here in the coming while. But as far as construction goes, you had sent me some things this morning and you had questions about things. So they are starting construction and they got final permits this past week to start construction on the east parking structure, which will go where the employee parking lot is. There is also a bridge approved to go across the Harbor Boulevard. And then it says that it will, what is the wording there? It will create a new entrance.
Yeah, and it's
access point.
Yeah, it's interesting because it doesn't say specifically that this is an additional access point. It says the hub off Disney Way. So Disney Way, if folks don't know, so like the main entrance at Harbor Boulevard is just north of Disney Way. Disney Way is sort of like halfway in between that entrance and the Hyatt House that's down at the next intersection, also by the Candy Cane Inn. And so it says there'll be a pedestrian bridge across Harbor Boulevard to create a new access point to Disneyland. And so, I mean, great. Like, we definitely need more ability to get around the exterior of the park. But right now, where that comes in, there is sort of like a back access road that I think is for buses right now, maybe employee buses.
Yes.
But I imagine, I haven't seen plans, I looked around online, but I imagine most of what's back there, those parking lots, the buildings and all that stuff, is being absorbed into the new campuses.
Yeah, so the Magic Way is the entrance for the buses that come from that Toy Story parking lot. And then they go into the bus lanes that are up there. My understanding is that the bus lanes are all going to be part of the new Avatar area. And those are being pushed somewhere more north, maybe into the parking structure or in front of the parking structure, and people will be dropped off there. I mean, I don't know, because they're not going to maybe not need the buses anymore with that bridge. So they don't even need those bus lanes anymore with the bridge.
I never thought about that as a possibility.
Bridge.
Yeah, that they do no buses on site and everybody goes to that structure. I didn't even think about that. Now, if you did that, I guess the other thing too is for folks who may not have been to Disneyland, that current bus depot, if you will, lets you out into the main security entrance, and you've got entrances to both parks right there. And so if this pedestrian bridge were to take you in to buy Avengers Campus, I mean, clearly you're entering Disney California Adventure. They've got to have some way to move the people from there up to the Esplanade to get you into Disneyland Park.
Yeah, so I actually don't think it will come out there. I think it might loop around and go up even a little bit further north, closer to the monorail is where it's going to end up coming out, is what I think. And then we know already that they're doing away with part of that Esplanade with the Porto's construction because they're taking down 2 of the ticket booths right there. And so I think everything is going to be pushed more into the Esplanade, and the Esplanade is going to be not as big as it used to be. And it'll be much smaller, which I think that's great because it's kind of wasted space. It's not really necessary to have that much room for people to go into downtown Disney or into one of the other parks, especially if they're not going to have that bus depot area right off of the Esplanade.
Yeah, I think the only thing would be, I mean, assuming it comes from Disney, assuming the bridge comes from Disney Way and sort of goes around the hotels and motels that are in between that parking lot, which would become a garage, and Harbor Boulevard, that's a pretty decent hike. And so I think, like, if you think about Universal Studios Florida, getting from the parking garages to the parks is a hike. And fine for able-bodied folks, but for people with disabilities, the Universal, at least at Universal Florida, that valet parking fills up pretty quickly on busy park days. And so not a ton of great options if you are disabled or if you're just not able to walk long distances to be able to get into the park easily. So it sort of flips you around to say, if you are someone with a disability or if you can't walk long distances, it's sort of pushing you into staying maybe at Grand Californian or Villas at Disneyland because there's no other way to get there without a long walk.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what they end up doing and how it all comes together. My understanding is that there was a plan for the pedestrian bridge to come between Tropicana and that castle-looking inn that we've talked about before. But my understanding is that wasn't approved. So we would need to dig into the permits just a little bit more and see if we could figure out what the final approval was. And if the Sky Bridge is coming up further north, then it would make sense because it would be a little bit shorter. Otherwise, it's going to be about a half-mile walk.
Yeah, I'm looking at the map right now overhead, and there is an extension of that parking lot in between the Camelot Inn and Suites.
Yes, thank you, Camelot Inn and Suites in Tropicana.
Yeah, and so that would have been an ideal spot, to your point, to have the pedestrian bridge, because that would dump you right at the Esplanade, just north of it, actually. Whereas, Disney Way, like I said, is definitely further down, more of a walk, if you will. So
yeah. So whether they dump you there, but I don't think that they'll put an entry point in the backside of California Adventure. However, that is a plan. That is an idea. They could do that. Yeah. They could put another entrance. I think that would be far more expensive than just having people walk a little bit further. So my money would be on Disney making people walk a little bit further and having the entrance kind of stay where it is or be pushed out a little more into the Esplanade area.
I agree.
So that's pretty much everything that's happening at Disneyland coming up in 2026. There will be a lot of construction. There is a lot of construction happening right now. There are walls up everywhere when I was there, even during Christmas time, with Portos and some of the stuff happening in downtown Disney. There is a lot of new things opening in downtown Disney. Lululemon opened in downtown Disney last week. So that's really exciting. So keep your eyes on that. There's lots of new restaurants coming in. It actually sounded like it makes me want to spend a day just doing downtown Disney.
Yeah, I mean, downtown Disney's really rounded itself out for sure since the first time I was there.
Yeah. Yeah. So what have we got going on in Disney World, Ed, coming up in 2026?
I mean, it's almost probably easier to talk about what's not changing in Disney World. There's just so much going on right now across so many things. Not too dissimilar to Disneyland, a lot of the things that are coming probably not going to make it in 2026. And things that are coming in 2026 are either existing rides coming back on from refurb or, minor refurbs. So we get Thunder Mountain and Buzz Lightyear both back in Magic Kingdom in spring of 2026, though I did read one rumor that said that the Buzz refurb was running behind, something to do with the ride cars. Nothing from Disney saying that as the case. But I think, the big thing about these two rides in Magic Kingdom, these are both absolute people eaters. Thunder Mountain is always been a quick loading ride. It has multiple cars on the track based on the number of stop points. And Buzz Lightyear is a continuous load. And so you're getting, almost always two people in each car and just continuous load all day long. And so, I've been down to the parks a handful of times in 2025, as have you. And I'm not going to say that I can definitely see the impact of those two rides, but it's crowded in Magic Kingdom, and days that, days that might have been an 8 or a 9 that turn into a 9 or a 10 are just uncomfortable. And I'd say in all of 2025, I don't know that I saw any really low crowd days. And it's like the benefit of rides like Buzz Lightyear, and even, in a place like Epcot, a ride like Figment is just, again, people eater rides, short lines that take a bunch of people and just make it easier to get around the parks. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting Buzz and Thunder back online, because you'll also have Tron. The train is back up from refurb, and so there's just there's more stuff to do across the park that that can occupy all those bodies that are zooming around the parks. So I definitely see pluses here, and I mean, let's be honest, as fun as Buzz Lightyear was as a ride, it definitely needed an update.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the updates because they did need new blasters, definitely, and the new targets. I'm really excited about it because it was really hard for me to know when I had hit something or not. So yeah, and then the continuous shooting too, not to have to do this the whole time. That's going to be amazing as well.
Yeah, and what's been rumored, or at least what Disney has said, is that there will be unlimited scoring on the new version. So for folks who are experts at Buzz Lightyear, you probably maxed it out with all 9s at one point or another. I forget what the total score is. I should have gotten my Galactic Superhero sticker out somewhere on this mess of a desk. But you could max out the score, and since the ride tended to either A, break down fairly frequently, or B, when they had somebody who was disabled had to get off, they had to stop the ride. If you got stopped in the right spot, you could hit some of the big targets and you could run up the score. So with a new quote-unquote unlimited scoring system, there are opportunities to break our previous records on Buzz. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, so fun.
So the rest of the stuff in Magic Kingdom is all TBD. And I imagine none of it will happen in 2026. I imagine all of it will be 2027. But the two big ones are a Cars themed land, which they're calling Piston Peak, and Villains Land. And as we joked about, I think prior to recording, might be my red line if they get rid of the other Tom Sawyer's Island, since they are getting rid of Tom Sawyer's Island in Magic Kingdom to make way for these parks. And so these will connect back behind that area in between Thunder and where Tom Sawyer's Island used to be. And there's a lot of work to be done. So I know you've been down more recently than I have. I've heard folks say that you can see some of the construction back there. I saw some earth moving when I was down there last time, but not a ton. But it does sound like we can see a lot of stuff moving. But these are major additions to that part of the park.
They are major, super exciting. It's going to take a minute before we'll be able to see the results of all of that work.
Yeah. So Epcot, as I said, more of a refresh. So there are new animatronics for Frozen Ever After, and we get a new version of Soarin'. We get Soarin' Across America to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the USA Week. So that is summer of 2026. Soarin' is one of my faves. It was fun having some of the Soarin' over California overlay time for a brief period of time. So should be fun to see those as well. Hollywood Studios, two things here. I was surprised to see that they actually forecast that the Muppets retheming of Rock and Roll Roller Coaster should be done by summer. It's a really quick retheme.
So quick and so exciting. I'm really excited about this. And it makes me think that they really might bring back the Muppets in that Villains Theater right there sooner than later.
Yeah,
I still believe it's coming.
Yeah, we talked about that on a previous episode. We'll link to that in the show notes. It'd be interesting to see the timing. They don't plan to shut down Rock and Roller Coaster until March 1st.
Yeah.
Though they have started to refurb. So the pre-show for folks that have ridden it, where you could see the band Aerosmith talking with their producer in the recording studio, that was shut down, and now I've heard it's covered over. So it's possible that the refurbs in that room are already happening. So if you're talking about the rest of it being theming and they're keeping the ride cars the same, it's possible that they could shut down in March and be open in summer. I'd probably predict late summer, but more to come. And then for folks who are diehard Star Wars fans, my son included, you're going to get a helping of Mandalorian and Grogu as a new overlay on Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. And as I understand it, you'll actually be able to choose which scene you want. So you can go with the traditional scene that the ride started with, or you can choose the Mandalorian and Grogu. So there's some variability there. You got 3 different positions that you can ride in. And now you'll have 2 different storylines that you can follow on the ride.
And that is coming to Disneyland as well. So thanks for
Yeah.
calling that out, Ed, because that'll be available at Disneyland too.
And I got to be honest, like this to me, look, don't get me wrong, I'm a traditionalist. I love things like Thunder Mountain, those traditional core rides that maybe don't change as much. But there's something cool to be said for Smuggler's Run. I think they did a really good job on the ride. You've got the 3 different positions. You've got Chewie mode where you can, instead of having the regular voices, you can have Chewbacca take over all the voices. So they've added these layers to the ride. Now to be able to overlay the same ride with a completely different script, I mean, this is, in my opinion, pretty cool. So you take something that, I'm trying to think, Smuggler's Run would have opened during COVID, so call it 4 years or so, 5 years, somewhere in that range. I should have looked the date up before we recorded. But to say that ride gets a pretty significant refresh by having an entire new script 4 or 5 years later, and now people can experience it 2 different ways, I mean, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And my understanding is that they designed the ride with that in mind to be able to have easy expansion in the future. And I think that there are several rides that they could have done or have possibly done that with as well, where they can change things pretty easily without having a long shutdown. I think Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is one of those that they could add and make changes to pretty easily without having a major shutdown. So it'll be exciting to see what they do in the future. And especially as these new attractions open up, like Coco and like Avatar Land in Disneyland, where having things change is really critical to keep bringing the locals in, if they'll have those elements thought out in the design process where they can quickly and easily make changes and additions without shutdowns.
Yeah. All good points. Last thing in Hollywood Studios of significance, lots of little things, but last thing of significance is a new Monsters, Inc. themed coaster. Again, this one feels like it'll probably be 2027. It takes over the Muppets Theater and Pizza Rizzo, so that whole area back there, and sort of like the last vestiges of the Osborne Family Light Show set that was back there. Interestingly enough, I didn't realize this from when it was first announced. So either it passed me by or they didn't announce it at the beginning. But this will be the first coaster that Disney does where we get to dangle by our feet.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah. And I mean, like other, plenty of other parks have this sort of a vertical lift coaster. So it's not a unique thing, but Disney's been, up until adding Tron to Disney World, much more traditional in the types of coasters it had. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, great coaster, and it was quote unquote revolutionary in terms of the smoothness, but it was a pretty standard coaster. So
you mean dangle from the top, right? Because you said dangle
right. So
by your feet.
You'll be in a seat with your feet hanging down.
Yes. Your feet will dangle.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Amazing. Yeah. That's pretty exciting. It has been done other places. I'm a little nervous about it. I'm nervous already. We'll see how it goes. Of course, I'm going to ride it at least once.
At least once. Yeah. And so we finish up with Animal Kingdom and a new land there, along with 2 new attractions. So Dino Land, may it rest in peace, a land that never really warmed my heart. It gets a new theming for Tropical Americas and 2 new attractions. And, not that the rides were bad per se, but Primeval Whirl got, my affectionate nickname of Primeval Hurl because it was a ride that did not agree well with me. And then the dinosaur ride itself was never really my favorite, but it was fine. So we get 2 themed rides. We get an Encanto attraction, and then we also get what my son will claim as his absolute favorite is we do get an Indiana Jones attraction, and that'll take the place of the dinosaur ride. The dinosaur track is actually really similar in many ways to the track Indiana Jones at Disneyland. And so there, I would expect the ride will have some of the same, attributes of the Disneyland version, with a, update on the storytelling aspects of it. Both of those slated for 2027.
Amazing. So fun. I'm really excited about both of those rides a lot, and the new land as well. Always excited about a well-themed land.
Yeah, so those are the highlights for Disney World. I will say, just as an extra aside, I think, I didn't really think about this when our friend group postponed our trip to Tokyo Disney. But in terms of, what's coming along, I almost wonder if we should reconsider 2026 for Tokyo Disney because they are celebrating an anniversary there. And when I looked at some of the anniversary themed stuff for next year's 25th anniversary, there's a little bit of FOMO to not have a trip on the book.
Maybe if we can get it put together, maybe we need to go ahead and do it then.
We might just need to call an audible and tell people when we're going, and they're welcome to join.
Yeah. I'm like, I know Ed, and he's going to be like, all right, this is when I'm going. Everyone come if you can. And it's going to be at a time when I already have a vacation planned, I'm sure. You cannot plan it for the last 2 weeks in April.
Well, yeah, that's a bad time for me, so you're safe then.
Okay, good.
So what do you think about what do you think about the reimagining of Disney World? There's a lot of changes in all of the parks, and as you noted, change has always been a constant at Disney. But like, what's your general feeling about what you think this will all look like on the other side?
I think I'm always an optimist when it comes to changes at Disney, and that it's going to be amazing. And that's what I want to think, what I want to believe. And I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm really excited about the new land. And like I said, in Hollywood Studios, I'm excited about Villains Land, which probably me 10 years ago would not have said, but I probably would have been upset about it. But I am really excited about it. I think it's all going to be very well done. Knock on wood, cross my fingers that I'm not wrong on that. And I'm really, really hoping for Muppets Land. So, yeah. And I'm excited because with Monsters, Inc., especially closing at Disneyland, I'm excited about Monstropolis at Disney World. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can safely say that like that Monsters Inc. ride at Disneyland, it had lived its best life, and it needed, it needed a serious refresh, but a wrecking ball was fine too. So to get a reimagining in a completely new place starting over, I think it's great to continue to have that IP in the parks, but that ride had definitely seen better days.
Yeah, I will say I did hear that Rock and Roller Coaster, the retheming to the Muppets, the storyline is all staying pretty much the same, which I was kind of disappointed about.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it all works, how it all plays out before casting judgment. What do you think?
I mean, I've always loved that coaster, and I was a big Aerosmith fan, still am a big Aerosmith fan. So it checked both of those boxes for me. But there is something cool about thinking about the Muppets, piling into a limo and off to the show and going through traffic and all that. So yeah, I wish that they were doing a little bit more with the story. But I mean, the Muppets are such a beloved franchise, and I do think it's a pretty solid coaster. So all in all, I think we'll come out with a solid ride, even if it's not groundbreaking.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree.
I really want to be where you are from an optimism standpoint on these changes. I'll be honest. I'm still taking the Tom Sawyer change hard just because it was such a fundamental part of that part of Magic Kingdom. So trying to reimagine it. On the flip side, the best parade I've ever seen at Disney World was the Halloween parade, and the villains are a big part of that parade. They do such a great job with it, and so if they're able to build on that, the villains show that's in Hollywood Studios right now, we have a friend who's a cast member in that show. It's a really great show. I just think they've leaned into the characters and they use technology and all that stuff. So I'm optimistic there, and how I feel about Radiator Springs at Disneyland. It's such a great ride, and so if it's like, hey, we're reimagining Cars and we're taking the next step in Cars theming, I mean, the Cars theming at Disneyland is incredible. So those are awesome things to be excited about. And the trade-off is, that we lose the island and the fun of exploring. And, I think it's inevitable. The theme parks are what we're trying to attract people and keep us occupied and all those things. I think the thing I always loved about Tom Sawyer was that ability to explore, to use your imagination. So there are other things that, that have gone away, like Sorcerers of the Kingdom and stuff like that. So I hope they keep some of the other exploratory pieces, so like the treasure hunting and the Pirates of the Caribbean area and stuff like that, so you can have some things to explore the parks that aren't just attraction based, because I think that's a good balance for those of us that go as often as we do.
Yeah, I totally agree with that for sure. And I mean, as long as those have stayed around, and I mean, they've been there for 20 years, I think, or more. So I think they've had a really good long haul, and people are still doing them, which is really a good sign that they'll be around longer.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I hope so. Well, plenty of stuff for us to tune into for 2026. I know we want to talk about festivals and all that fun stuff to what to expect in 2026, but definitely lots of stuff on the horizon between both parks for folks to be excited about.
For sure. Lots to watch out for. I'm really excited, and I hope that we get to see you soon in one of the parks, Ed.
Yeah, I know. We do need to cross paths. And just a reminder from what Steph said earlier, if you want to like or subscribe this episode, that would be super awesome. You can also catch us. We've been doing some Instagram lives, so stay tuned for those. We should be doing one here in the next week or so. If you keep an eye on Steph Parkside or at Pizza in Motion on Instagram, you'll see us announce dates and times for those. Love to have you join us for those too. Those are more informal discussions about topics where Stephanie and I pick a topic, hop on and take questions from folks on a specific topic. So got a couple of ideas up our sleeve. Steph sent me a couple of cool ideas while I was traveling last week that we might choose for one of those. And we'd love to get suggestions from you guys on what you'd love to hear us talk about on our next IG Live as well.
Absolutely. If you're getting ready to plan a trip, let us know what questions you have. That's where we get some of our ideas on what we're going to talk about. So let us know what you want to hear. And until then, we will see you next time on Catch Us at the Castle.